Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna break down 5 interactive transitions that you can use in your next edit. All of these transitions are really easy techniques that you can put together to come up with these creative interactive transitions that can really spice up an edit. Real simply, I'm gonna break down all 5 of these transitions so that you can understand how I shot and edited them. And if you have any questions, make sure to leave them down below. All right, let's hop in. Okay, so first up is this landing transition that I've used here with Cody, where he's basically flying in from the sky and it's almost like a Superman landing on the camera. And it's a really fun interactive transition that is actually really simple. So first off, let me just show you the raw clip here. And basically what you need for this specific transition is a super wide lens. So here I've just used the 10mm Laowa f2.8 autofocus lens. And I've tried my best to get Cody kind of centered here, especially when he jumps. Because it's such a wide lens, you basically just need to jump near the camera. And let me just play this for you here. So this is the movement in full. So I've just asked him to basically jump and land, act like he's landing next to the camera. And then look down the camera and make this a little bit more interactive. The key here is that when he jumps, because it's such a wide lens, you just want to make sure that you get this shot right here, the underside of his shoes. Because basically, once you get this shot, what we're gonna go ahead and do next is rotoscope him out and then basically transform him. So if I just go frame by frame here, I've got a couple adjustment layers, and these adjustment layers basically are transform layers. You use the transform and lens distortion. So without these adjustment layers, this is what this effect looks like. Pretty cool, but with these 2 transform layers, we're adding a little bit of rotation movement, right, as he jumps in. And basically what this whole movement is, if we just go frame by frame, basically all you're doing is you're just moving this cutout of Cody, and I'm basically just transforming him. So the first thing I've done is you could either take a screenshot or rotoscope him out in After Effects. It's really simple, just draw around him. And I mean, I guess I could open this up in After Effects. So basically what I've done is I've just gone ahead and used the roto brush tool here to draw out Cody in this scene, just starting from like right where his feet show up. And I've just roto brushed him out. So you get this cutout of him. The next step once you've rotoscoped him out is basically you're going to want to keyframe scale him from 0 all the way to this point. So basically you want to start from 0, and then you want to make sure that at the point at which just before he lands, he gets to right about here. So if I were to just scale him, I would just bring him down to like 100%, from 0 to 100% over, what is this, like 6 frames? So now you've got this movement here. I've gone ahead and added an adjustment layer with RSMB, which is basically Real Smart Motion Blur. It's a plugin I use all the time to add realistic motion blur. Let me just render this out. So you can see here, we're going from 2 all the way up to about 100. And I've also added a little bit of Gaussian blur, just little things to add a little more realism to the effect. The other key thing is when he actually lands, I've gone ahead and added a hit preset. There are a bunch of hit presets on Artlist or Motion Array. I think I used one of my own personal presets for this one. Without any sort of preset, this is what it looks like. You're trying to add different layers of realism. So as he lands, basically you just want a little camera shake. And so what I've gone ahead and done is I've added one of my hit presets here, and you can see that like little camera shake right there, which just adds more realism to this effect. If you had some subtle sound effects like risers and dramatic hits or whooshes, you can really elevate your sound design to make this sound a lot more realistic. A lot of these are from my own personal sound effect packs, again, available in my shop. A pretty simple transition all in all. Again, it's basically just rotoscoping your subject into position. And then once you've scaled him in, you're gonna add that shaking kind of hit preset as he lands, coupled with some sound effects. I've added a little Lumetri flash here. It's another easy effect where you can just kind of increase the exposure. This is without it, and then this is with it. You can see that subtle flash that really adds a little bit to it. And again, I've added a little bit of transform here, scaling wise. You can notice that little zoom out, and also this lens distortion. The lens distortion, this is with it, and then this is without the lens distortion. Super simple, and just a variety of different effects that add to this cool sort of landing transition. Up next is another creative use of rotoscoping. I like to call this one the catch, and I've done a bunch of different tutorials on this on my Instagram. But basically what I've done here is I've basically just rotoscoped out this lemon tea here, and I'm having Cody act like he's catching it. And it's a really simple, fun transition that you can add into your edits. Okay, so for this transition, you're basically gonna need 3 clips. The first clip is you're gonna need you could use like fishing wire, you could use, I use dental focus loss in this particular scene where basically I've shot with a wide lens, almost the same lens that I've shot the first clip with, and you just want like a clean plate, a raw clip of whatever you're gonna end up catching or the object that you're gonna animate. So in this case, we've got this lemon tea here and I've just rotated a couple different times. Once you've got this raw clip, the next thing you're gonna do is again, rotoscope out this lemon tea, and you do this again in After Effects, you can do this Davinci, basically just gonna draw it out, and then you'll have like that clean plate of this rotating lemon. Once you rotoscope this out, it's gonna look something like this. And then the final part of this whole thing is you need two clips. The first clip that you're gonna need is basically a slow push-in of your subject acting like they're catching the actual item here. And so basically what I've done here is just pushed in with my gimbal, and I've recorded Cody acting like he's catching this lemon tea. And then the second clip is you're gonna need your subject in the same exact position to already have the lemon tea in their hand, and they're gonna act like they're catching the actual object. So here you're just acting like he's catching that lemon tea. A little bit of acting is required for this one. It's not too difficult, but basically we're gonna have him act like he's about to catch the lemon tea there, and then the second clip, stay in the same position and acted like he had caught the lemon tea. Now the magic comes in between these two shots, and basically what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take your rotoscoped object, and basically what we're gonna do is animate it using keyframes. So we want it here. What I've done is I've animated it from this location and add a little Gaussian blur, and basically I'm just gonna rotate it into this point right here, which is where we're gonna do a match cut. And the match cut is between the two different clips. To spice it up, I've added a little bit of a speed ramp in between the two clips. As you can see here, these aren't exactly perfect clips because what I wanna do is I wanna basically blur the lines between the two clips. And so we've got sort of a speed up motion here to the actual catching moment. Nothing super difficult on this one. Again, you're just rotoscoping out your item, and then you're animating it in between your two scenes, and you wanna get your two scenes as close as possible. Again, up to the catch and then the fake catch. You're basically gonna keyframe your lemon tea to start kind of like out of frame, and then it's gonna slowly, in both scale and position, end up next to his hand here. As you can see in the final product where we've started sort of wide, it's just rotating naturally because that's the rotoscope that you did there. And then you're just gonna slowly bring it as close as possible to this point and match the two scenes. And we've got a little flash here just to sell the transition a little bit more. Boom. The sound effects between this one and the first one are actually pretty similar. You got some risers, you've got some dramatic whooshes, just layering different sound effects, mostly risers, whooshes, and dramatic hits. And you get something like that. Without music, it's a lot less satisfying. But with that hit, that dramatic hit it there, the catch point really sells the effect. Before we hop into the next transition, let me talk about a creative tool that I've been using a lot in my projects that's recently been released by the sponsor of today's video, Artlist. So recently, you may have heard all the buzz about a new image model called Nano Banana, released by Google. What's been absolutely incredible is Artlist's AI image and video generator now incorporates the Nano Banana model to quickly generate images at a whole new level. Okay, cool, but how is this practical for you and me? So the way that I've been using it is by creating alternative YouTube thumbnails for A/B testing. A/B testing is a feature where you can test up to 3 thumbnails to see which performs best for your video. In Artlist, you can drag in an image, describe how you'd like the image to change or alter. Then when you select the Nano Banana model and click generate, you get some really impressive results. You can relight images, change backgrounds, adjust the angle. Really anything you can think of, you can create in this model. What used to take me hours in Photoshop, and honestly, a lot of it was just me making mistakes and trying to fix those mistakes using the clone stamp and painting in shadows and trying to fix the light so it looks just right. You can do that all in a fraction of the time it used to take. It's a super easy way to create 3 variations of the same YouTube thumbnail to test out and see which one performs best for your channel. I think the feature is great for creators, and if you use the link in the description below, you can get 2 months off your next annual plan for Artlist. Thanks again, Artlist, for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so the third effect is rotational speed ramping. And rotational speed ramping is actually one of the most simple effects, and it's really, really easy to accomplish. Here's one example of this where we're going around my subject, or myself in this case. Basically, if you're gonna break this down, we're just speed ramping between rotational movements around a subject. These have actually been generated through Higgs field. I can do a breakdown on this in the future if you'd like. Just comment down below and I can teach you how to do. There are a bunch of different programs that you can do this in. The other example I'm gonna show you is one that you've probably seen before. It's this clip of Cody standing around spots in Shibuya. Speed ramping is super fun and it's super easy to do. Basically, this style of speed ramping, all it really requires is the same movement across different locations. In this Cody example, I've done this movement just multiple different times across different locations. And so this is on the FPV mode on a gimbal. And basically I'm just rotating clockwise as I'm walking backwards. And the key here is that I'm trying to keep my subject somewhat centered in the middle of my frame here. If I put on my guides here, you can tell that Cody basically for the most part is centered in my frame. And I've done this in multiple different locations. We'll go to another clip here. Again, same exact movement pretty much. Like it doesn't be exactly the same, but I'm just trying to keep Cody in the middle here. The key here is that after you get a bunch of different movements like this, you can basically play around with different pushes in and reverses of this exact same movement and just speed ramp them between different locations. And so for this one to work, I have the exact same rotational walk back movement, and it's just Cody centered. I've actually paired this with like 2 different types of movement. This one is just a walking around rotational movement. And then the first one, I think I was just like walking towards Cody. And the key here is that between each of these movements, you basically want to speed up and slow down. So we're speeding up in between. So we've started here. I think my speed is at, it's like 1,000%. We started at 1,000% and then over 5 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we slowed down to 100%, which is regular speed. And then we've kept that speed for about 4 frames. And then we've just sped up over 4 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the next scene. The next scene, again, is already at 1,000 frames. I've just chopped it up right there over a few frames. Boom. And then we're speeding up again. And then we're speeding up again. And again to a different scene. And we're just doing that multiple different times. It's pretty self-explanatory. Like to unlock speed ramping in Premiere Pro specifically, you're just gonna right click on the FX here, go to time remapping, make sure speed is selected, and I'll show you these keyframes. You can do this in After Effects, you can do this in, I think the new Davinci Resolve, you can also do this. It's really simple if you do the same movement over and over again in different locations. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. If I've got a cool movement, like this cool FPV movement, I'll just shoot this like 5 different locations, and then maybe I'll do some other movements where the key really is just to keep your subject as centered as possible. And the other key obviously is once you've got your movements, the real selling point is motion blur. In After Effects, I think you can use CC Force Motion Blur to add motion blur. Premiere Pro, it's not built in. So again, I've added a preset or a plugin called RSMB, Real Time Motion Blur. I've just added this onto these adjustment layers just over the speed ramp portions. If you were to play this back with no speed ramp, no motion blur, it's like jittery and jumpy and it just looks really bad. Like your program probably just can't handle the speed of like 1,000%. But with the motion blur, it really adds a lot. And then of course, I think if we listen to this with music, a lot of this is they're just different whooshes. Like you can get whooshes anywhere. It's not super difficult to just like time the whooshes with the movement. And that, the other way I'll briefly mention is you can actually just do this with still frames. It's really not that difficult. Basically what you're gonna go ahead and do is in Higgsfield, for instance, if you go into this preset called Arc Right and you drag a screenshot, this is a screenshot of me from a scene, you can basically generate movement. It's really easy to create movement like this that's fake. It's generated through AI. And then what you can go ahead and do then is you can basically speed ramp between multiple different of these scenes here to create the same effect just using still images. I think this is a cool, practical, and creative use of AI to generate these sort of effects on your footage and then map it into regular organic footage. If you want to see a further breakdown in different AI effects, then just let me know in the comments down below. Fourth effect is this fun jumping over transition that I've done on this scene with Seidai here. If I just go through this frame by frame here, basically what I've had is I've got this first clip of Seidai kind of kneeling down towards the camera. Then he looks back, then he himself jumps over the camera. And if you look at it scene by scene, it's basically just keyframe masking. I've actually masked him out here, and then I've just masked and rotoscoped Seidai out as he's running over. And these are basically two scenes. Okay, so the first clip in its entirety is this. So I've got Seidai looking at the camera, he looks back, and I've just basically handheld, I've just whipped this camera over my head. This is shot on all the 10mm super wide lens, and so he's really close to me. And so we've paired that with this clip here. And so this is a completely different location, but I've just had Seda like run at me. And as he runs over me and jumps over me, I'm just following him with my lens. And so once you've got these two clips here, basically what it is it's a marriage between these two clips of figuring out how to combine them seamlessly. So from this point, I've basically just gone in and duplicated my clip, and I've added a mask using the pen tool, and I've just masked out really roughly. Like, this is like one of the shittiest mask jobs you'll ever see. And I've just masked out the sky so that basically you want emptiness where we're then gonna introduce the running man. So if you see right here, you can see that I've masked him out and placed him beneath the moment that he starts to appear when he's running. And for the second clip, I've basically just, again, used the pen tool. You can just see here, I haven't even rotoscoped, I've just done this frame by frame. Like, these are all mask keyframes. There's a lot of easier ways to do this, but I think it was just lazy. So I just ended up using the mask tool to create these mask keyframes here as he's running. And you only really need to do this for like 8 or 9 frames, like in between. Once you get to this point, I've just basically, if you can see right here, there's a cross dissolve. I've just basically cross dissolved this into the final video here. So as you can see here, it dissolves away. And this is just the second scene. It's basically 2 scenes where match cutting on the movement of the camera, but also I've just added in a little bit of extra masking like that right there. And all this is happening so fast that you can't even like notice how janky my masking skills are here. If we listen to this with sound effects, in terms of sound design, I've just got these hits that I use all the time, and I've got sort of like this ambient street sound sign. You can hear right there. And then I've actually added a car horn, which is completely fake. That right there is completely fake. And I've also added like a ha. I think these two sound effects, the male huh sound and the horn honking, those are both added in and they're not part of the actual scene. I think those add a lot of interactivity to the actual video and makes it feel more real. And I've added a metallic riser up until this second scene here. And these are both just whooshes. So the sound design helps this a lot. But yeah, again, this is not a difficult transition by any means. It's basically just match cutting 2 scenes together and just adding a little bit of masking to really spice it up. The last transition I want to talk about today is this into the phone transition here. It's really simple. I say everything is simple, but I mean, in concept, this is, again, very simple. So the first clip, basically what I've done is I have a gimbal here and I have Cody bring up the phone, and I'm using the 10mm wide lens, and I'm just trying to keep the phone as centered as possible. So I'm just trying to keep it centered right here. And then as we walk around, we slowly try to keep it centered still. And the actual phone, I've set to just have a green screen. I've just like screenshot of this green background and I've just set it on the actual phone so that later we can go ahead and remove this easily in Premiere Pro. The second part is once you get to that sequence, you're just gonna go ahead and use the Ultra key to remove the green here. Once you've removed the Ultra key, then you can go ahead and place your second clip into the actual scene. So again, this is the first scene here, and between the actual like rotation, I've just added a little speed ramp right here, just to speed up. It's a little bit too slow based on my final edit. And we've gotten to this point. Once you get to this point, what I've gone ahead and done, just added my second clip into this blank space here that you removed from the Ultra key. And on top of that, I've actually added in a bit of a rotation movement on its own. And you'll probably be able to see this right here. This is probably easier to see. I basically just added the rotation to match the phone rotation to add a little bit more emphasis. And then to zoom in, I've added an adjustment layer with some transform key scaling to basically take it from there to zoom in. And then we're basically just match cutting the second zoom in to the actual scene here. And this is the actual clip, the second clip here. The second clip can be really anything. It doesn't really matter what the second clip is because it doesn't have to match perfectly. The second clip, I just have like this interactive shot of him check himself sort of like in the mirror. I've added in this hit preset. By adding in this hit preset, it sort of adds that sense that you just zoomed into the phone. And I've just cut this into the overall transition. And then finally with sound effects, again, brings it all together. I've just got some fun whooshes, again, double whoosh, third whoosh, fourth whoosh, just a bunch of different whooshes and impacts. to bring it all together. It's, again, a really simple transition. You can do a bunch of different things with this. You could do different movements into the phone. You can match cut different ways. All it is, again, is just making sure that you have a green screen set up on your phone that you can download from Google. It's super easy to do. And then do creative movements, and then later just ultra key out the green. You can just put on ultra key right here. Just use the ultra key and select the green area. And once you've done that, you can then zoom in and match cut to another scene, and you've got this cool like interactive phone transition. Just to illustrate what the ultra key does, this is with ultra key and then without ultra key. So the ultra key basically removes all the green, and you can set this to like gray if you wanted to, and it would match out and everything. But on ultra key, you just make sure you're selecting the green, and it'll key it out for you. Then you can play around with different cool things inside your phone. Again, simple in concept, just how complicated you want to make it depends on you. So yeah, those were 5 creative transitions that you can implement into your next social or YouTube edit. On their own, each of these may seem a little daunting, a little bit difficult to achieve, but when you really break them down, it's basically just a combination of like rotoscoping, masking, speed ramping, and motion blur, along with good sound design to create really interactive and fun transitions. As always, if you have any questions on any of these transitions, leave them down below. If you have any suggestions or requests on breakdowns in the future, also leave those down below. Please check out my online shop for all of my color grading, my LUTs, my sound effects, specific hit presets I also got down there. It always supports the channel, and I really appreciate you checking it out. If you made it to the end of the video and you're a real one, leave me a comment. Let's do SFX sound effects for this one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.